Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Wolfram Language Design Review, part of a 14.3 series, right? This is all for 14.3. Is that correct?
Yes.
The Okay, and the subject is
Columnwise combine. It's a new function, and then we also suggest some extensions to join across to do some similar things.
I've always found join across so difficult to understand. Do other people find this easy? Like, okay, taking Christopher as an example, are you
I,
like,
I mean, I understand it, but I partly understand it because I know a bit of SQL and it's very similar.
yeah, okay, all right, let's take this from the top.
I
So,
like join across quite a bit.
okay, okay. Okay, so this is Emery join across, right? Is that the point here, or what is this?
Yes. So this is a design of a few months ago that we designed with you. And perhaps we can look at the basic example to see what it does first. And so this is the basic situation. It's joining on the column A. You see that
Why doesn't this resize? What's going on here?
perhaps you have to reevaluate it.
But why? I
I
mean,
that I don't know.
no, it's still not
Oh,
resizing. What's going
Looks
on?
like a bug, and I don't think anybody from front end is here.
Okay, fine. Can somebody report that, please?
Yeah,
Carla, is
and
that
yes, I'm
okay?
taking
All right.
note.
Okay, fine. Okay. Now let me understand what this actually did. Well, let me look at these two tabulas. Give me a better chance to understand. Okay. So what did this do? This combined cases where this agreed and it threw out.
right. It used A as merge column, and so it kept the entries with common values in those two
Okay,
columns.
right. So join across has these different ways of doing it. It can either keep the minimal set, it can keep a maximal set and put missings in the other places, etc. Correct?
Right. So the next section shows examples and compared to what join across does. So you see exactly. So you see that join across by default would right.
One way you can think about it, Stephen, is as an outer product where you have two A columns
Yep.
and you just keep the ones where they, where some condition is true, like they're equal in this case.
Yes. Okay. But the outer one keeps, in the case where there is no, I'm confused, but the case where there is no corresponding structure. Okay,
So
So
outer is going to have every single row from all of the tables and missings where A doesn't match. And then where A does match, you're going to have entries in both B and C.
okay. Okay, I get it.
I think it's kind
Inner
of,
is the default. Go ahead, please.
yeah, looking at examples with things that are all A, B, and C, it's kind of, but if you think about it, like if the first one is, say, customers and the right one is employees, and you're matching like the sales representative, if you say left, it means you want to keep all the customers, including those that don't have a sales representative yet. If you say right, it means you want to keep all the
Yeah, I
employees,
get it.
even those that don't work in sales. If you say outer, you want to keep everything.
Okay.
Right.
In the
So
case
this is
of three tables, yeah,
exactly. So you
this
have
is
all
the column numbers,
right.
and you could
yeah,
also
those,
presumably have column names.
well, no, those are not the column numbers. Those are the table numbers. Okay, so the 1, 2, 3 says keep all rows from tables 1, 2, and 3, or the 2, 3 just before says keep all rows only from tables 2 and 3.
Okay, so the left right left is, I mean, so I understand the outer, in the case of join across, outer is 1, 2, left is 1, right is 2, and inner is null list. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
And there is, if you look at the ref page, it does have inner, outer, left, right.
Okay, as
And it even
alternative
says
names.
that like 1 is left or n is right.
Okay, -1 could probably be right as well. Yes.
Yes, we could support, and I can't remember if I supported -1 or not.
Okay.
By the
Good
way,
idea.
Rob, how did you resolve the fact that it's non-associative with like cases like 1, 2? There's multiple ways of doing it.
There.
The way it works, if you want to know the details, is it does it gets the inner and then adds any rows that aren't in the inner from table 1, and then it adds any rows that aren't in the inner from table 2. So it's
Why does it need that sequentiality? I don't understand why it isn't just laying out. I mean, it starts from this, right? And then it just deletes
So
rows.
No,
if
I
I
mean,
grab like the
algorithmically, it would be
customers,
more efficient to do it what Rob says.
Okay, but is it
but also
equivalent?
from the end perspective, like if I go from customers and then I join who their sales representative is, then I have all of our sales representatives, and then I want to join the which office they're located in, the sales representative themselves. But it's all anchored to the full list of customers, so that's kind of why the order matters there. We
But
want the
hold on, is it
customer list.
equivalent? I mean, what you said is an algorithmic improvement, but does it affect the answer?
No, the order maybe.
only the order of the answer, potentially.
I see the order in which row goes where.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. That's the only thing
But
it would affect.
but there are also situations where the number of things that come out might depend on the order in which you do this.
How can that be?
How can that be?
Because
Well,
it's
because
not associative. Like
if
now
the
I don't
first table
remember.
is customers rather than employees, right, then
No,
it's
no,
your
no,
full
but
list of customers. Sorry.
now I don't remember the exact details. There are papers on this. I think I sent them out. They tried this up until SQL 92, and then they decided it was pointless, that the binary operation was more general. So they decided that since it wasn't associative, you couldn't define properly an n-ary operator. Now I don't remember the counter examples. Sorry.
I don't understand that. I mean,
Me
I
neither.
understand that the order of rows is different. But now, how are we ordering the rows? What is do we have some, I mean, you can do some sort operation afterwards.
Right.
I mean, is it worth kind of defining a sorting there?
Typically, the ordering the rows. So I mean, at the base of it is the idea of doing an outer product over all 3 of those tabulars. So the ordering for the inner case is the ordering should always be typically be the ordering of that outer product.
I see. Okay, but
And
just
then the rows are added at the end. Now we could change the ordering somehow.
wait a minute. What rows are added at the end? The outer product defines a definite order, and then you're just removing rows from the outer
No,
product.
we're adding rows. So we do the inner case, so that we
This
do
case here.
that case, and then we add rows from the things where we say the rows are required.
Okay, but to me, the obvious definition of the order of rows is the outer product order. And then you just remove rows from the outer product order.
Right. Well, in this case, there is no outer, I mean, that the outer product is empty. So
No, that's the inner product. This is the outer product.
no, the fundamental, no, that's not an outer product. The fundamental thing is an outer, the outer product is over all the tables, and that's to test whether there's a match or not. And in that case, it's false. In this case, it's false. Or the test is false for every single case. So the outer product.
I thought that was I'm very confused. I thought the
I
inner
think Rob
join.
is talking about a
Well,
different outer product.
And is it also maybe because there's not a rule here saying like join on A in tab 3 there? Or, oh, no, sorry, the column-wise combine is below. Disregard that.
No,
But
so,
is
so, so
the
the one,
order really important though? Like for realistic examples, when you have like big tables, because if you do care about an order, you can order it yourself.
Yeah, okay. I'm totally
Don't.
confused though. Isn't the outer product the case where you're, did I get completely confused? The outer case is the case. Yes, it's this case here where you have everything.
yeah, but that's why that concept of required rows is in some sense better than this name outer. It's that outer is not necessarily an outer product.
But okay, but what is it that gives you every possible row but with a bunch of missings in it?
That's either outer or the list of all the table numbers. So that
Okay,
one,
so
two, three.
I'm right. So it is this
Right.
one here. Yes.
Yeah, it is.
And maybe the point is that if you have left, then the order that you give those matters. Or
Yes.
right.
In other
But
words,
for
if it's
outer
2, 1,
and
3 versus 1, 2, 3, it makes a difference. Is that what you're saying?
it does make a difference for left and right, but it doesn't make a difference for inner, cross, or outer.
So you're saying if I had 4 elements here and I said 1, 3, 2 as opposed to 1, 2, 3, I'd get a different answer. I'd get a different answer for those 2 cases.
Not,
If
not
it's
with the current
left.
code, not with the current code, it doesn't.
No,
But
I
left-
understand that. I
yeah,
understand
so-
that. Okay, but there is, look, in this case, there
Yes.
is. Okay. First of all, the set of rows is always the same, correct? 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. It's always the same set of
It's
rows.
always the same set of rows. Yes.
Okay, all right. I didn't misunderstand that. Now, this is the inner case, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So now what I'm asking is, the outer case always contains every conceivable row. True or not true?
Yes.
That's true, right? Okay.
Well,
now,
not every conceivable row, but every row from each of the input tabulars. So there's a representative for every row from the input tabulars. So like this,
Yes,
you
that
can think
includes
of that
all rows.
1,
that's
2,
what I
3.
meant by every conceivable row. I mean, in other words, it has, right. So worst case is there's got to be some row there or it's not going to appear here, but some of the elements can be blank because there aren't corresponding rows in the other tabulars.
So another
Now,
way to think of that 1, 2, 3, Stephen, in this case, is if you did join of tab 1, tab 2, tab 3, and think of join as adding missings where things aren't in the columns.
yes.
That's exactly what you get. And in fact, I believe that's exactly what join would give you.
You mean what a fold of the join across would
No,
give
just
you?
join of tab 1, tab 2, tab 3.
You mean actual join?
Actual join. Yep.
I thought that joined rows together.
Boom. Exactly the same.
It is joining rows. It's joining the
It's joining-
rows.
Yep.
Okay, I see.
And see, it's filling in missings for where the column doesn't exist in that tab. So
But
Right,
that's
so-
like a linear kind of stacking join, and I guess it adds columns so that those values can have a place to go. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, I think that we've established that in the outer and inner case, that it's going to, contain the same set of rows, and the ordering doesn't necessarily matter for 1, 2, 3.
Well,
It's just that.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I suppose then actually in the example you're showing, maybe the answer or the order does matter, because if it's 3, 2, 1, maybe the outer product should have the first table listed at the top rather than starting with tab 1. It should start with tab 3. Right.
Why did this join? Is this joining on the A column, or is this just? I'm a little bit confused.
This is just they're just appending the rows essentially. And if the tabular didn't have the column, it just adds a missing value to that column that the tabular didn't have.
But so
we're
what
just
happens
stacking
if
in
there's
this case.
disagreement between? I'm confused here.
I think if you had let's say you didn't have any shared column names, I think you would get, this would be obvious. Let's do.
Well, let's do it. Okay, so then how do I do that? I want
Like
to do
one that doesn't have an A column, for instance.
Okay, so let's get this tabular and let's make a new tabular, tab 4, which has a Z there. And now let's do a join of tab 1 and tab 4.
See, there's no shared anything.
Right. Okay. Okay. All right. So what are we trying to design here? We're trying to get an n-ary version of join across. Is that correct? Is that the overall objective here?
Yes, that was the original design of column-wise combine.
Okay. But I mean, that's our purpose in this meeting, is to review the design of column-wise combine, correct?
Yes.
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 Which is a generalization of join across, correct?
Yes.
Well, we are suggesting later some extensions of join across to work better with tabular.
Okay, but we want to keep join across as opposed to deprecating join across and keeping
yes.
only column-wise combine.
No.
Absolutely, we want both.
Yeah,
There are situations where both are going to feel natural depending on the data you're working with, or
Okay.
the environment
All
you're
right, so we
coming
were
from.
discussing the ordering of the rows, and the claim that I'd been making is, given that you know what the order is in column-wise combine, you know what the order of the elements that you're column-wise combining here, right? Why are we not doing the order that you would get from join of tab 1, tab 2, tab 3?
Yeah, we can do, well, because it takes a union, because somebody might specify 1, 1, 2, 3, but we
wait,
could
wait,
we
wait a
could
second,
reject that.
If you do it, I mean, in full generality, join of tab 1, tab 2, tab 3 will have much fewer elements than the elements that can appear in column-wise combine, tab 1, tab 2, tab 3.
Right. See, remember there's the result of the outer product, which is that first result. In this case, it's
No, that's not the
No,
first result. That's the inner result. That's the inner
right, the
product
inner
there.
result. Right, exactly. So we're only talking about the order of the
No,
outer.
but that thing is not the result of the outer product. Is it now?
No, it's the outer case, which I've pointed out is not an outer product.
Yeah, but then so if you take this thing and say column-wise combine tab 1, tab 2, tab 3 goes to function true, then you get the cross product, right?
Okay, we're not dealing with that. We're dealing with something very simple here. Is it or is it not the case? If I do this column-wise combine, look, if I say column-wise combine, if I say join, let's do something very straightforward, just so I understand what's going on. Tab 1, tab 1. So that will have joined rows from tab 1, right?
Yep.
That's what you expect it to do.
Yes.
Now, column-wise combine of tab 1, tab 1, tab 1 of 1, 2, 3 does something different.
But yeah, of course it does.
Right.
But if you do column-wise combine, instead of putting 1, 2, 3, you put rule function true. That's not looking at columns. It's just taking everything possible. That's the largest.
Roger, do you understand this? What's happened here?
Yeah. So in general, you have a condition. You can still think of it as an outer product, but you have sort of a condition that you check on.
Okay,
And,
what Carlo was saying, what did I put what here?
It's a rule
so
syntax.
so put a rule delete 1, 2, 3, or keep it, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Keep it.
Function true.
Okay.
Keep it.
That's fine.
Then put a rule after tab 1, tab 1, tab 1. After tab 1, tab 1, you put a rule. Now, the one you're doing here would be equivalent to function hash part one, then A, part
What?
A.
So don't
Yeah.
let's not do the function. Just put function of true. Okay, and then we'll get the full. That's the full.
Yeah, you need to rename the keys, but I mean,
Oh, yes. So yeah, let's try and work through the notebook, and then I think you'll understand what we're talking about.
Okay, but
what we're
I'm
trying
still
to
coming back
do.
to what are we trying to achieve? You have a candidate design for Columnwise Combine, and you have extensions to join across. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, and this was and I apologize for choosing this example because it was I thought it explained things, but it actually adds to confusion, and that's my mistake. And
Okay.
I
Maybe we
apologize
should
for that.
just go. Let's go directly to larger examples, which are like they're not a 1, 2, 3. They're like
Okay, well, give me an example. Just give me
go to
give me
the larger example section has examples that are a little bit easier to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay. Why exactly are we not using our own list of countries here?
It's in the next input. What they want is to compare the imported and the built-in.
Okay.
Like the idea is that this is like the canonical list of countries from Google is different from the canonical list of countries from us.
Yeah.
And so it becomes interesting to see like what to do when you have missings on one side or the other.
All right. Okay. Okay. Columnwise Combine, imported versus built-in. Okay. So this is going to show the common things. I don't understand. So this is Andorra, and both places have a source for Andorra. I see that one doesn't have population and area. So, but if both had a name with a lowercase n, what would have happened here? And what if they disagree? Then we would have had to. No, just to answer that question, please. If both had the same name, go ahead.
Yeah. And
And the
disagree,
values disagree.
then you wouldn't get a match because you have to match. And I don't particularly like this.
So not having a match means that they would appear on separate rows with a bunch of
that they
missing.
would within their not having a match means that they get deleted.
This is defaulting to inner, so they just wouldn't appear. If we defaulted to outer,
then you would
so
get
for example, here, so let me actually do it. How do I say rename?
You know what, Stephen, you can the thing is right now you're using Columnwise Combine with like just it's doing the most automatic thing possible. You can say that by saying
how about I just do the following? I just do this instead of built-in. I say rename. Sorry, with the imported,
you don't
I
need
say
to do that.
rename
You don't
column.
need to do
Yeah, I
that.
do. I say rename column. No, column rename. Sorry. Is that the right term?
I think it's rename.
No,
rename columns.
Okay. Of this with lowercase name goes to uppercase name. Now we will have a bunch of things that don't agree, I think.
Yeah.
Now we lost. What did we lose? So now if I put in here 1, 2, if I'm understanding correctly, now I'm totally confused. Why am I not getting the things on which we had disagreement?
Well, look at the bottom.
They are not here. You should count the number of rows.
It'll be at the bottom of the table. So you see those missings? Those are where we disagree.
Okay. Okay. Okay, fine. So now this relates to the ordering of things in the table. So what if I were to say 2, 1, would I see those at the top?
No, because we canonicalize to the union 2, 1, which is 1, 2 right now.
Is that obvious that that's the right thing to do? I mean,
not necessarily, but if somebody were to repeat an index, that takes care of that. But we could use delete.
Well, we can give an error if they repeat an
index. Give an error. Yeah,
we just give an error.
Yeah,
I think it's a better thing to do.
Yeah, no, I think that's perfectly reasonable to consider the order of those things.
Okay, but what should have happened here? And this is attempting to make the outer join, if I'm understanding correctly, of these two tabulas, correct? Or am I confused? It's the outer join, right?
It's the other join, but I think one thing that is kind of swept under the rug.
I just want to understand that. This is the outer join, right?
Yeah, that's the outer join.
Okay. And for example, the if I just did something like 1 here, then I would get.
Then Google wins.
But
If
then
it's
this is
2, we
us,
win.
not.
No.
Yes, that's
No,
the
it's
fact
just
that
that Antarctica doesn't have a population. Otherwise, area would be empty as well.
I understand. But that the whole point is these 2 columns are coming from us, right?
Yeah.
Right. So this is a case where we said it was a missing, as opposed to there's a different cause of missing in.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Those bottom cases are cases we did not have that Google
Okay,
did.
so not available. So it's a little bit confusing that the missing is the same missing. I mean, it has the same missing reason, which isn't really right. This missing reason isn't not available. This missing reason is it wasn't. I mean, somehow it's not the same thing, is it?
Distinguishing those missings actually might be useful
I would think so.
if it's
Although-
not extremely cumbersome.
That's
You mean a
potentially
missing
expensive,
of
though. Yeah.
You just mean the missing of
I don't
like
know, Rob.
it wasn't there in the join versus the missing of
Exactly.
missing not available.
Yes.
Yeah, give it a new string that isn't terrible.
But it doesn't have to format differently in the actual
No, not
tabular.
at all. It would look the same. But if
Yeah.
you
No,
mouse
they
over
still
it,
have the head missing. So,
Yeah.
I mean, all missings are treated the same, but then if you wanted to do some filtering, you could differentiate missing because it doesn't have a population or missing because it wasn't a part of the table that you joined on.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to change the name of those missings.
Okay, fine. So let's come up with a term for, instead of not available, which is
I mean, there is one already for
Non-existent?
join across. It's unmatched.
unmatched.
Nice.
I think in join across it's unmatched, but we can
Yeah.
Okay, well,
that.
fine. Then that's what we should use. So why did we
Great.
not use it in Columnwise combined? Is it just an oversight? Was that just an oversight?
Yeah, we're just coming up with the design now, and I
Okay,
think that's a
fine.
good idea.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so now Carlo is making a different point. What was the point you were making?
So the point I was making is that I don't particularly like the fact that there is an automatic way of doing this that just uses same names in the columns, and that kind of like here, if you do that renaming trick, etc., then you get weird things like probably Cote d'Ivoire we capitalize differently, so now they don't match, and you're gonna have to.
So I don't understand. What point are you making? What point are you making here?
My point is
There's a
that this
collision.
column-wise combined, the way it's written up there doesn't say what the keys are that you're matching on. And I'm not sure that this is the correct automatic behavior, like using the ones that have the same name.
You mean the same name, the columns that have the same
Yeah,
name?
the same keys
Right.
in the columns.
Right. Okay. So the default is we are matching on any columns that are say the same name. So if we wanted to match on a particular column, how would we do that?
You would use a rule after imported and built in.
Okay. So we then say arrow something like quotes
Well, no.
country code.
Yeah, that's if it's the same for everyone. But what I'm trying to say is
No. I want to be clear. This is so. Do both of these data sets have a country code? No, they do not.
yeah, they do. It just went away.
This is why the original one worked automatically, the one without any other argument.
But I think
I don't understand. Why didn't this work? Why didn't this work?
Because now you rename names like the lowercase name to uppercase name.
So what?
And then you have conflicts in the. But now you cannot do that anymore because
Does
you're
it-
only checking against one column, but the other one that doesn't match. You know, you have
So I
cases
think-
where country code matches, but the name doesn't.
You can do if this hasn't changed in a while, you can make the first part an association, right? And then you can
Yes.
use keys that will become the prefix. So instead of list, rename
Exactly.
columns and built in, do an association with, I don't know, A goes to the first and B goes to the second or something.
How about
built-in
hours?
goes to-
And, yeah,
it
give
could
it
be
give
hours
it a
and
name.
days.
It's not a letter again.
What the hell is that?
That's the function arrow.
Yeah, it's really crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now we
And
would see.
just in terms of talking about this data, giving those prefixes was really nice.
Yes. Okay, so what happened here? So country code was a I'm
Yeah,
confused.
It
Why?
joined on country code, so there's only one country code column.
Yes.
It did not join anything else, so everything else has its own column. You needed to add the prefixes because, see, there's both a name under theirs and a name under ours, which was not being joined on and doesn't have to agree. And so it needed to make two columns in the output, one for theirs, one for ours. So you need to give it a prefix.
So if I did this, then I might have the Côte d'Ivoire twice in some way. No, it didn't. It joined.
Yeah.
So
well, because the country codes are unambiguous. I think if you joined on name and then let country code sort of
Well,
no, but when I join on name, there are things that are dropped because they don't agree
yeah.
between the
No,
two.
no, but you're doing
Right.
outer here, so you should have Côte d'Ivoire at the end. You have
Right.
Côte d'Ivoire and Ivory Coast both.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Wait a minute. Well, why don't I? Wait a second.
Yeah,
There,
scroll.
it's
It's just
further
towards
up.
the end. Scroll to the C's.
Okay, but the fact that those went at the end, I'm really quite confused by. Again,
Because there's plenty they're not at the end because there's plenty more where they don't match. So
no, that's not my point. My point is that in the rule that the ordering is based on the join ordering, aka outer join ordering. Why do these ones come at the end?
Well, because that's the way I've set it up. I mean, we could put them where else would you put them? I mean, so we do the inner case, and then we add columns that add rows that.
But why are we doing
missing.
why are we doing that? If the semantics is it says if you did the outer case and then you remove things that are not suitable for whatever the specification you gave here is, why is that not the correct thing to do?
But that is the outer case with the rows included there.
Okay, so you're saying
so you're doing.
So at the bottom here, notice how all of the columns in theirs are missing, and if like you're at the break here, and then for ours, all of the columns are missing down here. But if you scroll up, there's a section where there is some overlap.
yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Right. So there's three distinct sections.
Well, okay.
One
Does
where
everybody think this is right? This ordering. This is ordering.
What's the alternative that? What's the alternative that you keep
I don't
the
know.
name? Yeah.
Both lists. Look, we're intercalating two lists basically.
Right.
So
I mean, I guess
question-
one possible order would be you keep all the names in the order of that they appeared in the first list, and then all the names that appear in the second list that didn't appear in the first then appear afterward. And then you'd have, what would you have? You'd have the two Côte d'Ivoires there'd be one that would be in the middle because that was from the first list, and another that's at the end because it was in the second list or something.
Well, so look, we've got two lists. What we're really trying to do, it's like sequence alignment. We're really trying to we've got two lists that have some things in common. Isn't this basically the same as the sequence alignment problem?
It is in this case because these are pretty much the same thing. But if you look at other examples, and that's also why you will see that maybe.
Okay, can we get just the definition here? We have two lists, right? Some things agree in the list, some things do not agree. I see.
Yeah.
Your point is that I could have a situation in which they do in fact agree. We have the same rows are present, but it is in a different order.
No,
like
what
that.
I'm saying, Stephen, is that there is a situation where you have a list of countries and a list of cities. And in that case, it makes way more sense to intercalate.
I got it, but look at this case here, right? There's no definition of what order these things should come out in.
Yeah.
Right? So I guess I retract. I mean, it's going to be somewhat arbitrary.
Right.
And it is, I mean, as a matter of fact, relational algebra, like the proper mathematical theory, works on sets. It doesn't have any notion
I realize that, right?
of sorting.
But in actuality, we need to give the things in a definite order.
Well, one advantage
the
of this
order-
order is that you can always, know that the things with missings are always going to be at the bottom of the table, so you can always
Yeah.
look at the bottom.
Okay,
Fine.
fair enough. All right. Okay.
Ultimately, it's desirable for things to be in the order they were in their original tables. And the order that the tables are given matters for the left and right case, but not the inner outer case. As well, and it matters for the outer case because it's which table comes first.
Okay.
Uh,
All right.
yeah.
Okay, let's keep going here. So this seems
The point I was trying to make about the
okay.
automatic.
We have a very limited amount of time. So which
Yes.
things are important for us to cover?
I think well, you've seen the prefixing now, so you understand that and understand the value of that.
This thing here.
Yeah, the one other thing is the functional syntax.
Okay.
Anyway, the point I was trying to make with the automatic case is that if you're joining two different things, say countries and cities, they both will have a name, and the automatic thing will always return an empty thing. Well, apart from maybe the Vatican or something. But it's not like everything is gonna have a name, and you don't want to pick on that. And sometimes things will have like 5 columns that are the same.
What
right.
point
They
are you
might have
making here?
the columns might have the same name column, even if they mean something completely different from each other.
Yes.
Just because you called it name, one might be a name of people, one might be a name of countries.
Yeah. So what is your point there?
My point is that, say, if you're joining cities and countries,
Okay,
the
your
automatic
point is that
filter is
using
entirely
the name of
stupid.
the column to determine what things
Yeah.
to join on is a mistake. That's your point.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's address that point.
And also I think that if in the future we get some kind of an idea of a structure that is several tabulars together with relations with one another, we might want to use the automatic case for something more clever there.
Okay, so
So
the
I
issue
don't
is
want to
okay.
burn
Can we
ourselves.
please focus on this one point? Okay, your point is that what it does when you don't have an arrow something to determine what to join on, you're saying that the idea that it joins on common names might be wrong. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. What do I agree that that's an issue. What do other people think about that?
I think that's fine. We could just always require the first argument be a rule.
Okay. Christopher, Roger, anybody? What do you think about that?
I think that making it a rule for now is a good idea, and leaving room for the automatic case to do something smarter when we have some information about the relationships between the tables gives us the best of both worlds.
Okay, so
Room to
what
grow and
right. So can we have a setting? So good point, Carla. Okay, but can we have something which means join across commonly named rows? I mean, that would be naturally automatic, but we might want to use automatic for something different.
exactly. And
So
I think a string here for like common or something would be a fine
I don't think we
solution.
want to do that because the string is what the names of columns are going to be.
Oh no,
So it's
you're
better.
right.
Anybody got an idea for something? I mean, look, the
Identity.
What about inherited?
I was thinking both of those. I don't really quite get either of them. Look, I think arrow automatic is not ridiculous because
No, it's great. We're just not there yet.
Steven,
no.
I would say let's punt on this for 14.3.
No, hold on a second. Okay, how important is it to make similarly? I mean, I think it is clearer if you say, and it will join on the columns that you specify here. We're less obscure what's going on.
I think so too. And we've lived
I
without
agree.
an automatic thing for join across for like 10 years now. Nobody's
Yeah,
complained.
great.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay. All right. Fine. I mean,
So we just require it be a rule or a list of rules.
Why is it a list of rules?
Well, the list of rules case is where you want it's like join across of thing one,
Each,
thing
Like
two.
when you
each table has a column that you
Each
want to
table has a
give.
column which have a different name that you want to join.
or more, right? You can do more than one,
Yeah,
right?
or more.
I
Yeah.
see,
Yes,
I
yes,
see, I
but
see, I
yeah.
see. I see. So in other words, we could say join the lowercase name column of this with the oops,
Yeah.
with the
Yeah, I
uppercase
was
name
trying to
column.
make you do that earlier instead of doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Does
Exactly.
this work right now or not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. That seems sensible to me. Any objections to this approach?
I don't love that then you get double rules in the association, but
Fine,
rules
but
in
join
what
across lets you.
association?
So if you want to give this a prefix, that becomes a double rule. If you want to give tab one a name, like theirs or ours, this becomes a double rule.
Does the precedence work correctly?
Yes.
That's life.
Yeah, I mean, this syntax is valid. It's not my favorite, but that's what works, and that's fine. And there's an alternative in join across. Yeah, I think it's fine.
What is the
there's an
alternative?
alternative. Well, it's below in join across, and that's the
yeah,
syntax that feels
quickly,
natural. But I'm not sure if we're done
Can we now
here.
cover? Okay, hold on. Key collisions. You've got some other things to cover here.
We pretty much already covered that with discussion of the previous table.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Functional tests.
there is a thing that I don't love about
No, wait
the
a second. What? Okay, about which? Sorry, about
about
functional
the
tests.
function syntax is that if you don't name the columns, you're supposed to use part instead of #1, #2. I'm not
If
a
you
big
don't
fan.
name the
Yeah.
tabulars, you mean?
If you
Yeah,
don't,
and
if you
that's
don't
understood
prefix
and
them.
fine.
Well,
It's not my favorite either, but it's fine.
well, actually,
Well,
keep looking through. You can use a. I mean,
this function syntax, does join across have anything like this?
No, and we should have it, I think. Columnwise, combined entity class does.
And
Which
that's
one?
basically
Sorry?
our suggestion for join across is to give it the function syntax, to give it the prefixes, and give it an operator form. That's it.
Okay. But so what other functions do this with respect I mean, we've done for many of the tabular functions.
yeah, but see here the slot refers to an entire tabular.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. Not just a. Yes, I understand. But what other things do we have? Other things where we're combining whole tabulars? Usually, we're just dealing with particular columns, right?
No, this is our first case.
I see. And
Except
so the
for
issue
join,
is,
for example.
what's that?
Except for join.
Do set operations work yet on tabular?
No.
You mean union of tab 1, tab 2?
Yeah.
Do we have any idea what that's supposed to do?
Oh, sure. It joins and then it removes the duplicates and sorts.
But so what that means is take it as if it's lists of associations and do the union on the lists of associations and then reconstruct a tabular from it. Is that correct?
It's slightly different because it's gonna probably do some padding, I guess. But yeah, pretty much.
Similar end goal. Yeah.
I mean, the same thing that join does. I mean, if you have to add extra columns because they don't match, there's stuff like that. But yeah.
Okay. But so the issue here is we've got this function and it is being given the list or the association as its one argument food.
Precisely.
And I don't think there's much we can do about that.
Well, what does work is if you put apply around the function, then
then
you
you
just
can
have a
use
list, then you
#1.
can use #1, #2, which I think is a perfectly reasonable thing.
Fine. We just have to document it reasonably.
Yeah.
Okay. What's next?
So that's the question of virtual keys. So do we want like a row number virtual keys?
Wait a minute. This is an additional. Oh boy. Okay, this is an additional syntax. What is this doing? Rename columns, insert columns. Well, this is just okay. So I understand.
So what I'm doing is I'm adding a row number column explicitly. But the question is, should that work automatically as a virtual key, like it does in
For what?
columns,
In Columnwise Combine?
in Columnwise Combine? Yeah,
Where does it work as a virtual key?
transform columns.
And how do we do that? How do we do that?
Well, we have a supplied keys option that allows you to specify, and the default.
Why don't we not implement this in this version?
Yes, perfectly fine.
Because, I mean, this is, again, a supplied story, and we need to get fully...
Yeah, we need to get that right. The thing this allows you to do, for example, with row number is I showed you the vertical join, right? And remember we had big discussions about join with level 2?
Yes.
And decided not to do it. Well, this is what allows you to do. This is how you do join with level 2 with Columnwise Combine.
Okay, all right. We can skip that for now.
Oh, we can totally skip it. Yeah.
Okay, all right, let's keep going. Okay, so then the remaining things are extensions to join across. So join across is a var-args, well, it's not really var-args, it's 2-argument thing, right?
It's three
And
or
they could be lists.
3 or 4. But
Yep.
yeah.
No, I get it. I get it. But in the case where we make this an association,
No, it shouldn't be an association, just because it's really useful. Sometimes you want to prefix one but not the other. So I think it's better if we keep them separated. We did the same with the
no, I
with
get
the
it. If it's an
one.
association, then it's the same function basically as Columnwise Combine.
Exactly.
Association can be the first arg and the second arg.
What they're arguing is they'd like to have the option where you prefix one of the tables but not the other, which you can't do with association.
Fine. What will it do? How do you refer to that table if you had to use a function syntax? If one of them is
Okay,
I mean,
so in combined entity class, we use #1 and #2.
no, but okay, but the function for the third argument. So instead of the name here, you're giving a function. But the way you'd refer to this,
You could do #1 or #2, or you could do #sample or
Yeah.
#fi.
Well,
But I think in this
No,
case,
no,
has-
I think
that
you
does-
can't. It's got to be one or the other. But the point here, Stephen, is that there are only 2 tabulars in this case. So
I get it.
So you can have each tabular as an argument, and then it works with #1, #2.
I understand, but you
Yeah.
could also make it as sort of a hack. It would be a one-element association. If that's the syntax you used, you could use the one-element association. Oh, but that's not going to work.
No.
So #1 and #2 would just be the tabulars here, independent of these names. So what good are these names doing us?
no, they're
Oh,
resolving
they're
the
dealing
The
with
collisions
key
after.
collisions.
Yeah, they're resolving the collisions after, not
Yeah.
before.
I
Yeah,
see, okay,
especially
so-
so if I wanted to chain a bunch of these join acrosses with an operator form, I might want to refer to a name that I gave it earlier.
For
Tab
what purpose?
/
In the
join
function?
across. Well, because I want to match a column from, so I'm doing some left joins on all my customers, and after I join the, sales representatives, I also want to join another thing, but based on customers, like on the country or something, to some other table that gives me information about their. I have this other completely separate data set that gives country information, but I want to match on the country in the customers table, not the one that's in like the sales rep table.
Yep. Okay. Okay.
So
how would-
if we give it the prefix like we did above, then if you add another join across with the prefix notation, then you can refer to the prefix that you gave in a previous operation because it becomes the extended key, and you can resolve collisions using the extended key.
rather than the hash.
But that's, hold on. But that's part of the function. You would give the extended key.
Yeah, instead of office code, you would say extended key of blah office
I
code.
see. I see. Okay.
Right, right. And that's what Rob meant with the either or. You can refer to these by names or by slot one.
No, I think in this
No,
case,
it's always
you've
slot
got
one.
to return
It's
to
always
slot
slot
one and slot two.
But wait,
So sorry.
guys, let's not forget that join across usually I mean, Sean is right because you can use the rule syntax if you want to just use the keys and not the function. If it's an equality, you never need to use the function because you use rules.
Okay, guys, what's the operator form proposal?
So the operator form is that you lose the first tabular and you just so you can use //
So join across had a bunch of other arguments.
It does.
Yeah, pull up the ref page for join across real quick.
But this is a 2-argument form, which it hasn't previously supported, correct? You're proposing a 2-argument operator form, whereas it previously has always been a no.
So
yes. So it's previously always required at least 3 arguments, correct?
Yeah. I mean, we could have
I
also a
have
3-argument
that...
operator form of the 4-argument join across.
No, we couldn't because it's ambiguous.
So
we did it with the aggregate rows.
We were discussing this earlier. So we have always followed the rule of counting arguments for operator form, but with aggregated rows, we broke that rule for the first time in 100-something operator forms. So they want to continue that.
But the point is just the syntax becomes so natural if it's tab / join across, and then the thing on the left of it is the first arg. And that's what the operator form is.
It's dangerous when you want to emit messages, right? Because once you are in the wrong situation, you don't know which situation it is.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, okay, but the 2-argument, okay, the safe thing to do is have a 2-argument form of join across that has omitted its first argument, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is a function that can be applied.
Kind of a way to recover an operator form with a join spec would be to have explicit left, right, and inner, outer join across heads.
Well, we don't.
But it's pretty easy to write as a
yeah, I think that the 2-argument form as an operator form that is expecting its first argument to be applied as a sub-value seems reasonable to me.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Anybody object to that?
No.
Because that allows as you say, it allows you to kind of annotate something you already have with new information that comes by joining some new table. And that's a reasonable way to think about it, right?
Yep, it only adds functionality without getting in the way of anything.
To be perfectly fair, the only other thing that would really be useful if you're thinking about it in a like this kind of add things to the right would be left join. Not the right one, not so much.
I just always have the argument left in my join across. That's fine. I can. You have to be explicit with a left join in SQL. You can be explicit in join across that you're doing a left join.
But wait a minute. The default for the operator form for the 4th argument, what is the default join spec?
The inner. The default is inner.
Yeah, and just add as another argument to join across left as the last argument. No problem.
I'm sorry. What if you're going to do it? Look, the operator form would just be a shortcut way of doing the inner join. Correct?
Not just the inner. The shortcut operator form could also be a left join.
No. If the default for the non-operator form is inner, then if we only get 2 arguments, then it's inner for everything. We can't change that.
Okay, well then we need another argument for the join spec.
No,
it can be a
can't
third
get
argument.
another argument. We've only got there's a 2-argument operator form. Okay, that's why I'm asking this. The 2-argument operator form, when we're not cheating these operator forms, which I would really prefer not to do here. The question
I'm sorry, but can you explain that to me briefly?
Okay, so the point is it is ambiguous. If you have a a 2-argument join across right now, X, Y is not ambiguous, right? That it has to be an operator form. Right? As soon as you had a 3-argument thing, it looks like this form. See what I'm saying? Now,
What if that third argument has to be a join spec, though?
okay, I understand. That's what we've done with this aggregate rows thing.
Yeah, it has to come from that list in details and options. And those are the only allowed values
Yeah,
there.
but the left as a string is a perfectly valid column name, so it could be that as well.
Yeah. Precisely.
The difference is really on the X and Y, not on the join spec. But
Right, so I'm just trying to understand. In Sean's use case of / join across, basically, I don't know, countries, and then the join, I don't know.
Do customers, so on the far left, do cust on the left side of the operator form, and then do emp for employees.
And then we're
And
joining across sales rep or something.
yep.
I mean,
And
yeah. Now, which form do you want here? Which form do you typically want? Do you typically want a left join?
so the default for join, like generally, is going to be inner, but in practice, in every single database environment I've ever been, I've always used left joins, like 99% of the
so
time.
the possibility is a different default for the join spec in the operator form than we have in the non-operator form.
I think that's a dangerous precedent, because then it's not really an operator
Yeah,
form. And it really, if you use it so often, maybe it's better to just have another function and call it left join across.
I don't think that's right. Does anybody else have an opinion about this? I mean, is there a reason why in the operator form, I mean, it's a little bit weird because the / operator form looks like it's on the left, but the more natural functional operator form looks like it's on the right. See what I'm
Maybe
saying?
a case for
but I'm kind of
right.
looking left to right. The thing that's anchored to is on the left cust, and then I'm left joining.
I know.
Yeah.
But let's say you did that, right? Let's say the syntax you used was that.
Mhm.
I still don't think it's terrible to. Okay, sorry, Jose was saying something.
I was saying that this might be a case for operator applied or carry applied, where we have the possibility of specifying this thing.
Okay.
I don't like the operator form in something that's fundamentally binary. Like, like would you have a divide operator form?
It almost seems like if this were just an option, that would solve the problem, because we can't add an argument here, and we're just trying to change the behavior of how join across works.
If what was an option?
Left, right, outer, inner.
Yeah, but it's not. We haven't set it up that way.
Yeah.
But I think, now that you're showing this thing with the / and the application, I think it's fine to just have this as inner, because left and right can be swapped depending on the syntax. And so it becomes super confusing what left and right means here.
Exactly.
So I would be really fine with just the 2-arg version. And also, in my experience, I didn't use left as often as Sean. So
Well, I mean, were you actually making reports for finance teams by a delivery date and writing a bunch of stored procedures and keeping up with the demand?
no.
Okay, so okay,
Because I have done that, and
he was a left joiner.
Almost always, and 3, decades-long database administrators were pretty much just like, yeah, the spec says inner, just always do left for reasons. And then you eventually learn, partially for performance, partially because you know which exact rows you're going to get in the end. I mean, I'm fine with this 2-arg operator form, and of course, inner should be the default, but if we could add left join across, I would really appreciate it for my use
think about
cases.
that. I mean, look, I understand your point, the point you just made, which is if you do the left case, you know what you're going to get. That is a good point, because I find it really confusing looking at these things and not knowing, when you happen to hit both things, then you get this, but otherwise you don't.
Exactly. And then so as you're building it up and you have 20 different tables that you're pulling all this data from, you give them aliases and then build it up one table at a time.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't seem like a wrong argument. I mean, we chose the inner case. Go ahead.
It's as simple as just adding left and right join across. And I'm totally happy. And
Well,
all these design
let's
look great
talk
to me.
about we can talk about doing that. Okay. Why don't we
Okay.
go ahead and do the operator form of this one using its standard default of inner?
Yep.
And then we can come back to the question of whether we want a left join across.
Great.
We can also put it, for the time being, we can put it in the function repository if people use it.
Why not have
Prototype
WFR
builds
things for those?
What's that?
Why not have those in WFR?
We can, but I mean,
well, I think that these need to become system. Let's just get them in prototype builds.
We have done it other times, like for example, echo function or greater than, things like that. Operator forms of cases that didn't accept an operator form.
You know, I think,
yeah, I get that. I've written WFRs too for things, but sometimes I put them in at WFR, sometimes I put them in prototype build.
I think it's
those
fine to
prototype
put
build.
these in the prototype build. I think they're likely to make it. Okay, and we can review them again.
Okay, well, maybe we should ask Seth Chandler which one he wants, since he's the main proponent.
Does anybody else have an
Dash
opinion here?
thing.
I really have to go. I'm really late for something. Does anybody else have an opinion about this?
Well, I agree that we shouldn't change the operator form to have a different default from the one that exists in non-operator form.
Fine.
Yeah, so do I.
Okay. I mean, I think left join across is much more likely to be useful than right join across. Right join across seems to be quite obscure to me.
I mean, it's really a convention depending on how you write stuff. But yeah.
Yeah.
But Simon, I think you're right, because in practice, almost never right join is used. People almost always use either left or inner joins. So
yeah. All right. Okay. To be continued.
Just enter until I correct them and tell them to use left.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anything else here? Nope.
Nope.
Okay. Thanks a lot.